Hi guys, I'm going to do a video today talking everything to do with my head. Now when I say that, I mean my sinuses. Now I have had issues since April. April was when it started. It was like mid-April. I got like a cold or a flu of some sort that just never went away since then. And the symptoms consisted of, through the period of April to now, is nausea, congestion, snot down the back of your throat. You know how when you kind of like can feel it running down your throat. That, lightheadedness, trouble sleeping, headache, in the middle of my forehead headache, because it just, obviously that's where it's happening. Feeling like I'm sick, so basically feeling like I never got better from being sick, which is weird because technically I was better, I just didn't know it was sinus issues. And to preface, I don't actually have allergies. Like, I don't have known allergies to anything. Fatigue, I had pain behind my ears in here, and then I also had pain in my throat, kind of, or like jaw in here. So like your lymph nodes, I believe, in there. But that wasn't like the whole time. Obviously these symptoms were all over the place within this period of time, but this is just symptoms that I had within this period of time. I had an itchy feeling in my ears, so it was like you could feel the wax or the liquid moving in your ears, like if you had water stuck in your ears, kind of, but it wasn't water. And it was like I had like this itchiness in my ear because it felt like I had stuff in there, but there was nothing in there. Well, nothing like that you could visually see or visually take out. So it kind of felt like you had fluid just stuck in your ears, if you will call it that. I had blocked ears, so like it felt like you had blocked your ears, like when you go underwater, it feels blocked, or like if you go to an elevated altitude where you get blocked ears, it kind of felt like that. Not constantly, but I would get blocked ears like that a lot of the time. I had discomfort in my ears, so just from all the stuff, I suppose, going on within my ears anyway. But during this period, I thought it could have been sinus related, but when you think sinus, I think, yep, you're going to have mucus, like green mucus coming out of your nose. I had none of that. So I thought it can't be like an infection, my sinuses, because I don't have any of the symptoms that correlate to that, with obviously the mucus and everything. And it kind of didn't hurt, not hurt, but it didn't really feel sensitive in my cheeks, which is also the other part of your sinuses, kind of. Your sinuses, I mean, they go all over your head, but you get a lot of pain in here with your sinuses if you have an infection as well, which I didn't really have. So I thought it can't be a sinus infection, but what the heck could it be? Because, like, what? It doesn't make sense. Some days you would be better than other days, and then, like, if I spent inside most of the day, it would be fine, but then if I went out for 2 hours, I was like, my head was stuffed. I had headaches, I had no cough, I had no sore throats. So it wasn't like I was sick either, because it was like, I don't know, it was really weird. Anyway, I kept going to the doctors between that period of time, and mid-June, I was diagnosed with eustachian tube dysfunction, which is basically like something to do with the pressure in your ears. And that would make sense, right? Because I had ear pain, I had issues in my ears, and I could have been congested because, it's all connected. The ears, the nose, they're connected. So they suggested I had eustachian tube dysfunction. Now, you can't really diagnose this unless you literally go in your ears and have a look around. So it was just a word of, you've got this. Now, they said that I should go get I think it's an audio something where they test the pressure of your ears. So basically like a hearing test. So they test the pressure in your ears to see if you've got this eustachian tube dysfunction. Now, when I went and did that, my results were fine for eustachian tube dysfunction. It was just that I had bubbly kind of wax formation in my ears, which is kind of normal. So they didn't think anything was that serious. But I kept getting the symptoms. So I kept going back to the doctor and I said, this is not getting better, like, what can I do? She ended up giving me Flixinase, so a nasal spray, to see if that would help. it did help for symptom-wise in my head, my ears. I felt like after I used Flixinase, my ears started getting better. So I felt like I didn't feel them as much, like liquidy. I didn't feel like as blocked, but they still felt blocked. Like they do still kind of feel blocked now, but they're not entirely blocked, if that makes sense. So Flixinase, I started that, and about 3 weeks in, it was worse before it got better. So I felt worse before I got better, but I did get better in the sense of less congested, less feeling like I had been hit by a truck, less feeling groggy, less feeling like, all those type of things. Now, when I started the Flixinase, I took it every day. And if I missed a day, God, I felt cruel. Cruel? I don't think that's the right word. I felt like really rough, really, really, really groggy, and like you were sick, but you're not. So like I had just woken up with a head cold, but like I was in the worst of it kind of feeling. But it was like there was no indication of me being sick other than feeling like I had a groggy head, and it was really weird. So I ended up. So when I did miss one, I had blocked ears with irritation. I had a headache in my forehead area. So obviously in the affected inflammation area, I was congested, I had nasal pain, I had ear pain, which came back. So when I did start taking it, my ear pain started getting better, but if I missed it, it would come back. And I was just really fatigued. So I was like, we've got to literally try take it every day. Like, don't miss it, because otherwise you end up feeling worse. Now, I would go to work on these days and I would be like, shit, I've forgotten my nasal spray, because I take it every morning. And by the midday, I had to go home because I was like, I can't handle being here because my head hurts so much that I just can't be here. So I literally would have to take sick leave because my head was fucked. Anyway, on the bright side of things, I got referred to a ENT, so ear, nose and throat specialist, in September. So April to September, I had this period of disaster. And then September, I got referred to an ENT, rang me, and they're like, cool, our next appointment is in November. November, are you kidding me? September, October, November, 3 months until I get an appointment. You think, because I am going through a private health insurance as well, that it would be like 2 weeks max, if that, because when you say specialist, usually you can get them pretty quick, especially if you're going through private. I couldn't imagine what it would be like if you were going through publicly to get a specialist referral, because I took 3 months and I'm private. Anyway, he's the only one in our town, so I think that's why he's very busy. Before this appointment, I was like, cool, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be like, he's going to be like, you got allergies. That was my mindset. So I didn't take my Flixinase that morning before I went and seen him, because I'm like, it needs to be visible of what I feel and what it looks like when I go in there, because otherwise I just look crazy, right? Because not that it's like gotten rid of the problem, but it's like it's more noticeable if I don't take the Flixinase, right? So I went in there and I was like, he's going to tell me it's allergies and that I've got no issues, right? That was my thought process. I went in there and he's like, how are you feeling? Like, what's the situation? What's going on? I basically said, since April, I've had congestion that's not going away. I've had ear pain, blah, 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 blah. Explained all the symptoms. And he goes, oh, that's like, he was really, really empathetic. That's not good. Let's have a look at and see what we can see. So he took me over to this chair, which you have this light camera. It was like a long tube thing, kind of like if you were to put a feeding tube, kind of like one of those tubes. Not that tube, obviously, but like that skinny. And it was like that tube, and it had a light on the end with a camera, obviously. And he puts it up the nose, and he goes, yeah, I can see why you've been feeling these things, basically. So when he put it up, you could basically barely see the back of my nose. So it was that swollen that you couldn't actually see, you could barely see the back of my nose. And the middle septum was enlarged, and he said the right side is wonky. Well, my nose is wonky. So basically, when you get a wonky nose, it's either someone's hit you or you've had some sort of hit to the face where you've broken nose, whatever, and then you become wonky. But I've never had that, so you just grow funny. I don't know, because apparently your nose just keeps growing. Your nose does not stop growing, because weird. Anyway, verdict being my nose is actually fucked up and I don't have allergies. Well, it's not related to allergies, which is what I literally thought he was going to tell me. I was grateful that I had a diagnosis. I was grateful that I had a solution to the problem. I had somewhere to go from there. It wasn't in my head, basically, even though it felt like it was in my head. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I think that, is it in my head or is it actually something? Suggested would be highly recommended is to get surgery, because basically that would fix the whole structure of the nose, and it would basically take out not all the inflammation, but a lot of the inflammation, so that you can breathe properly, in a sense. So make more of a clear passageway for my nose to breathe. And that is maybe why it's caused ear issues as well, because the nose has been so blocked that the air pressure is building up within the station tube dysfunction area, because there's no airflow going through or something. I don't know the logistics or the science. I just know that they are connected and they've got issues. I'm going to get surgery on the 16th of December, which is pretty quick. He did suggest that, well, it wasn't him, it was the receptionist or whatever. She was like, you've got two options. You can either do it so this is obviously in November. She goes, so you can do it in December or you can do it in January. So I was like, cool. December was the 16th and January was the 13th. And I thought, if I do the 13th, it doesn't make sense, because December I have to take 2 weeks off. Well, 1 week at the minimum, because of the Christmas holidays, New Year's, whatever. And then I'm going to have to go back to work, and then I'm going to have to take time off again, at least 2 weeks for this recovery period. So I thought it doesn't make sense to take time off and then go back and then come back off again. It didn't make sense to me. So I thought I'll do it on the 16th, get it over and done with. So I'll take extra leave. So I'll take my 2 weeks leave for the recovery, and then I'll take an extra 2 for my actual holidays, because I've got enough leave to do that. So I was like, cool, we've got the sus, we'll take it then. And then as I was realizing that it was on obviously a horrible time of year to do it, because you've got so many events, you've got all these other things. So now I'm missing my work event for Christmas, and well, there's 2 of them, but I wasn't really going to the other one. But I was really looking forward to the Christmas function thing we have at work every year, but I will be missing that because that's the same week of my operation. And I was like, I'm not going to that anymore. I had training booked that I was supposed to present, but I had to cancel that because obviously I will be not fit for it. And then we have my brother's 30th birthday, so I won't be able to go to that. The following week it's Christmas and you've got New Year's, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to be able to go to the week after, because I think it takes a week to 2 weeks to recover, so I'm not sure how I will be the second week. But either way, I'm not sure if I'll be going to Christmas, and if I do, it's not for a long period of time. I'm glad I did it that way, because I feel like I am getting worse. My congestion feels a lot worse since I went to that appointment. And it's going to summer for us, or you get more of the dust, the dirt, the pollen, which goes in your sinuses and stuff. So it is a good time to do it. He did diagnose me with chronic rhinosinusitis. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I'm going to put it on the screen. And then he said that I had a deviated septum, so that's the middle part in your nose, I think, congested sinus outflow tracts, and compensatory turbinate hypertrophy. I don't know how you pronounce any of that, but I'll put it on the screen for all of what I just said. Which leads me to getting my surgery, which I am getting a bilateral fess, a septoplasty, and a turbinoplasty. I'm not very good with medical lingo, but that is what I'm getting, and I'm getting it in mid-December. So I will be looking a little bit rough, but I will try to document my journey, because I feel like it's going to be interesting to see. I'll document as much as I can through the process because I think that's pretty cool to watch. But yeah, I'm kind of nervous because it's basically my first surgery and it's on my face. I've had a gastroscopy, which they go down your throat, but they don't actually do any surgery. Well, they took a biopsy, and I've had a biopsy on my leg. It's not really a surgery, that's just a procedure. And then the gastroscopy is a procedure as well. So it's not really a surgery specifically. This is going to be my first specific surgery, and it's going to be on my face, which is kind of concerning. But I think I'll be fine. I know a few people that have had the surgery, and they're fine. They look fine. They look like nothing's even happened. But it's still scary thinking you're going to go under and they're going to go do some procedure on your face. But anywho, by the end of it, I will be breathing fine and dandy. I will have no congestion, like a real surreal situation. But I'm looking forward to the other end of the recovery. And it's also really weird timing because I'm also going through recovery for my gut, my microbiome. So I don't know if that'll be affected in any way, but I'm hoping that it won't be, and I'll just smoothly go through because by the time I get to that point of surgery, I think I would have been maybe 6 weeks into that. But we'll see how I go. I'll record what I can. Thank you for watching the update. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you've had the surgery, let me know also because I want to know if you've had good, bad experiences, whatever. But yeah, thanks for watching.